Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Village of Bartlett Committee of the Whole meeting for January 6, 2015. I call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Ahrens, absent. Kammerer.
Here.
Carbonaro.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Ranke.
Here.
Shipman.
Here.
President Wallace.
Here. And the first item we have on our committee meeting this evening is under Public Works. So we will request that Chairman Ranke lead that for us.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening on Public Works, we have one item, the Metro waiting room. With that, I'll turn the discussion over to Mr. Dinges.
Me?
Well, I'll call you whatever you want me to call you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Well, I thought Dan was our point person on this.
Well, he is, but, you know, one of the good things about being a village administrator is I get to kind of sweep in and do what I want to.
Okay. Madam Administrator, would you please brief us then on the Metro waiting room initiative?
Yes,
Thank
I'd like to do that. Last time the board asked if we could look at a couple of other options, specifically the heating lights, and we did that. You can see that there is a cost there, an estimate of the lights, and I think that while that appears to be the most expeditious solution and certainly it is the least expensive, that wasn't coming out right, I think that one of our original recommendations, the two-gate option, in the long run, I think is probably the best one. And so I'm recommending that you do option 3. I think we can get that in about 2 weeks. And if you have more detailed questions about our research, then I'll probably let Dan talk about that. Maybe.
If I've read through this correctly, I think that option 3 obviously would allow the most commuters to come into the station. Is that correct?
It is, and it also allows them in with the ability to keep the coffee portion safe, as well as the Metro attendant and some of our glass areas as well.
And obviously, this is a great idea for the people of Bartlett and commuters. And I guess the concern was that, for vandalism, I'm just wondering if we were to go with option 3, and there really is still a concern with vandalism in some way, how much extra would it be just to have the cameras installed and just to go the full?
I would suggest that we do install the cameras.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. We have cameras, and we have if we're going to do it, we might as well do it right and have cameras, and then we have something to deter vandalism and try to make it
safety.
I agree.
And provide safety.
Provide safety, absolutely, absolutely.
And who would monitor those cameras?
The police department.
Is their system capable of handling a remote camera like that right now?
Where's my chief?
We had talked about it before.
He's still eating cake.
He's eating cake.
No.
I think what they would end up, I think it's going to be somewhere it's going to record, and if an incident happens, they're going to go back and review the tapes, as opposed to someone monitoring it all the time. But
that's correct. They won't be monitored 24/7, but they will track what occurred, and they will be a deterrent. I never like to oversell cameras because sometimes people with the hoodies up and tuck their way anyways, but they can serve as a deterrent, and it will track what occurs after hours, and you can use it as a investigation.
Was there a way? I'm sorry. Is there a way to put the cameras in the fenced-in area so they can't do that?
I'm sorry.
You have two gates that are going up. Is there any way to position the cameras on the other side where they still see all, except maybe a few bars here and there?
We can certainly try and make the most advantageous position possible. That's what we're.
Or mount a teddy bear. They don't know it's there.
That's right. We will make the mount be present and serve as the greatest deterrent we can get out.
Do we have any idea how prevalent vandalism is in other stations, Chief?
We look into that, and
Right.
It kind of varies around the tracks. Some see it a little more often than others. There have been some occurrences where it's gotten a little
You'd almost think that with the people being in the station, I mean, how often is it really completely empty, is what I guess I'm getting at. Do you think that their station is completely empty, for hours on end, so that someone would have ample time to just come in and take a can of spray paint? Or most of the time, if there were other people waiting for the train, you think that alone would be a deterrent right there, just having people watching other people?
You're correct. If there's crowds, there won't be an issue. It will be in the hours, the later hours when there is no one around, because it may not be quite as cold, but it may not be conventional at that time throughout the traffic. So that's one thing that's right.
Okay.
Have we had a lot of complaints about the current setup?
No, actually, what we had complaints from last winter, when we had such a brutal winter and such a small waiting room. I think that's when we had the majority of the complaints. We haven't had the kind of winter this year yet. I think we will in the next few days that would have generated any complaints.
Our parking capacity, do we use 100% of that a day, or what's?
It just depends. In the summer, I know we do have quite a bit of parking still over on Bartlett Avenue. In the winter, I think pretty well fills up.
Okay. So I was thinking another selling point, stay warm while you wait.
Is the existing waiting area going to remain? Is the existing waiting area going to remain? In other words, are there now going to be 2 waiting areas?
Yeah, the little one that's open all night long at the end will remain that.
So that one's open 24/7,
Yes, it is.
and this larger one would be closed at 10:30 at night,
That
or
is
whenever the
our-
last train is,
Right, that is our
whichever
plan.
weekday, weekend. In the summer as well?
Yes,
So it would act as a cooling or warming center?
yeah.
And we're going to get the funds from the general fund reserves?
That's my suggestion.
Okay. Rather than the capital budget?
I don't have a funding source in the capital budget.
Okay.
Do we have an approximation of what it would take, or what the price would be to add the cameras in any way?
I think we're in the $2,000 range, so I'd probably like a not to exceed 20,000. That'd give us room to be able to get it all done.
So rounding up to 20,000 is what you're saying would probably be the total cost for everything?
Right.
All right.
My suspicion is your estimate is dangerously low for $2,000 for cameras and recording equipment, but
Is that right?
I may be proven wrong.
A lot of it depends on what you end up doing, but if we're only looking at a couple of cameras, that's talking with the electrician that was giving us a price. He kind of threw out a ballpark of what, but he did say it all depends on quality and hard drive size and all that stuff, so it does vary.
Indeed.
It would be my suggestion if the cameras came in, they came in at a later date after we get some experience with this place. I mean, we could go 10 years without ever having an incident and have cameras after cameras after cameras. It's such a visible spot anyway. That would be my suggestion.
We just roll the dice, basically, then. I mean, you're absolutely right. We may never have any vandalism. If that's the case, no need for cameras.
Well, let's do this. I mean, let's get a quote on the cameras, but don't hold this up because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was going to be my suggestion, is perhaps staff can continue to look at a little more specific thoughts on the cameras, and that's something we could roll into the budget for next year.
Yep.
How expensive is it to clean up vandalism? I suppose depends on what they
Depends on
do,
what
what
it
damage
is.
is done.
Depending on what they do and what Venture's expectations would be for
Right.
repair.
And how much time you and I have on Saturday morning?
And how much, yeah.
Depends if we use latex or oil.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Yes, I think I'm a little confused. If we're gonna go with option 3 per se, we have 2 gates there. We really don't need the other 24-hour area, do we?
I'm sorry.
If we're gonna go with option 3 with the 2 gates, and we're gonna have the large warming area, there really isn't any need for the existing one, is there?
To keep the existing one on the other end?
What do we need that for? station closes at 10:30, the station closes at 10:30.
Okay, we'll probably just have to change locks on the door.
You know, it's just another area for people to vandalize if it's going to be open all night long.
Yeah. We haven't had any vandalism at all in our 24-hour area, but let us take a look at that. Yeah.
You don't want any to occur, that's why you knock on wood, Vince, come on.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
So
Thank you. We'll move
instructions.
ahead.
Yeah, move ahead.
We will.
Thank you, Chairman Ranky, for sitting in with First Chairman Aaron's. Appreciate that. Next item on our agenda is under Finance and Golf, and once again, we share this with Chairman Ranky.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening on Finance and Golf, we have two items. The first item is the Civic Group Funding Guidelines. So, do I posit the questions to you, Madam Village Administrator, or to Ms. Schumacher?
No, I would like you to posit those questions to our village attorney.
Oh, okay. Ooh. All right, Mr. Village Attorney. Let's talk about the guidelines and requirements.
The short version, Brian.
The short version.
The board asked that we have some guidelines, in part because we have these wonderful organizations that provide desirable services for the village, but we are giving out public funds, and we're accountable for those public funds. So we wanted to have some standardized requirements, and also then it shows when they fill out these forms that we're requiring where the money went, and they tell us in advance how they propose to use the money. So most of these organizations would typically be not-for-profit corporations, and they'd have bylaws. Unless they're large, they probably would not be 501c3 tax exempt. But that could be the case. And many, if they are, they have many of these forms that they would fill out. But we're asking for financial statements for the previous 2 years that show the sources and uses of the funds for the preceding 2 years. We want to see a budget of the amounts and types, how they plan to use them. And one of the things we're looking at is, and one of the factors is, they're providing a service that the village does not provide. So, 4th of July fireworks, for instance, that organization puts on fireworks. Bruce's organization runs Heritage Days. That's something that the village isn't doing, but that organization is. And so there's a form to fill out. Then that provides some transparency if residents want to see, where the monies went and all. It's not. There's some restrictions that say it's not to be used for alcohol, any political or religious purposes, or private entertainment, not public entertainment, fireworks, Heritage Days, or that kind of thing, but private. That really is essentially it. The application speaks for itself, and then there's a post-funding report so that if they're going to keep coming back for funds, we want to see how they were used. Again, it's taxpayers' dollars, and you're accountable for that, and so you're seeing in advance they're making the request. It helps with the budgeting process. You may decide we're going to set a set amount for the year. Not saying it's first come, first served, but part of the criteria is they give us a narrative as to what their missions and goals are and how those are facilitated and, frankly, how the Bartlett residents benefit from it. So some of the current organizations, and those are in the staff's list, but there could be new organizations or organizations that fall off the list and don't do those things anymore. So the board asked for that last year when there were people at budget time asking for things. So this is our attempt at doing that.
Any questions or comments?
If they don't meet one of the criteria, is that an exclusion then, or?
No, it's up to the board.
Okay.
I have a question, a hypothetical, attorneys love. ABC Youth Sports wants to hold a parade downtown. They're not asking for money, but they're asking for services, police, public works. Does that fall under this?
No.
So this is only for, lack of a better phrase, cash going out?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to clarify that on the record.
That's an issue. We have all kinds of organizations that have walks, parades, whatever, and frankly, the police spend dollars and time.
Absolutely.
Works does, and
Want to
not getting
clarify
it.
that.
This is not that.
Yeah, I've reviewed the
Yeah, I have too.
guidelines. I thought they were very well thought out. I know it's a very difficult balancing act to come up with objective standards and not impinge on First Amendment rights. And I'm so very proud of you for not mentioning those types of things, Mr. Village Attorney.
Well, they told me to keep it short. That's about it.
Absolutely.
And in mind of keeping it short, though, so the process as we envision this would be, people would submit these whenever, but their best bite at the apple would be, about now for next year's budget. And then
Right.
does staff review them, or are they going to come to all the board members, or who's going to review these?
I think
make a yes
maybe,
or no and now
maybe
file?
both of us. I think they have to come to the board because the board makes the decision during the budget year which, if any of the current groups, do they want to continue to fund. So we may organize it as part of the budget review, but the board's got to see them and review it and make the decision if we're going to continue to fund these different organizations.
So ultimately, it'll be the board, if there's 12 applications, kind of decide which ones and who gets what.
Yeah.
Very well.
Now, how are we going to formally adopt this? This is going to be adopted as a policy. We're going to put it in the ordinance book.
I would at least have the board vote to approve the guidelines. I hadn't thought through whether we do it as an ordinance. I wouldn't think we'd do it as part of the municipal code, but that could be done if you want to really, really formalize it.
Okay.
And do it in the form of just a standalone ordinance.
If we did something like that, then I would anticipate maybe seeing some stronger caveats along the lines of just because you get it this year, you're not necessarily going to get it next year.
The annual process.
Right, an annual process. But, sometimes you have to throw that out there to tell people so that there's no expectation.
I can add a couple of caveats like that. I think that would be a good idea.
There are a few in there now, I noticed.
Yeah, I have it a little bit if you don't fill it out,
Right.
Don't expect
But I
it.
did not add that specific one.
Right. And it's not necessarily about taking it away. It's about just being fair and upfront with people what the
I
expectations
mean,
are.
maybe it is a good idea that we put it in the municipal code so then people can view it online and they can't say they didn't have the forms or know about it. So
Good idea.
we can do that if you wish. I'll just put like a cover ordinance to adopt the guidelines as Exhibit A or something like that, and then they're in the code and they're more easily viewable for third parties. And I'll add that caveat, and we can go from there.
And if I'm on the outside, that's where I'm going to look.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right. So
Right. Makes sense. Okay.
We'll bring it back as an ordinance, just a very simple cover to this, and go from there. Thank you.
And then we'll get it online and endeavor to get the information to the board as part of this year's budget review.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions, comments about the guidelines? Okay, item number 2 is the website demonstration.
Drum roll or music?
Going to dim the lights?
Thank you, Chairman Ranky, Mayor, and trustees for allowing me to give you a short demonstration of the village's newly designed website. Some of the goals we had for the website redesign was to make it more modern looking, visually appealing, user-friendly, and compatible with mobile devices of all sizes. When you visit the site, you can see that it looks very modern looking and very clean. The site really requires very little scrolling, if at all, depending on your screen size. We have large graphic icons down here that bring people to some of the most popular areas of the website. Further down on the page, one of the most popular sections of the website was always our calendar. And right up front, you can see the meetings that are coming up, the upcoming events, and these are automatically generated each time an event is added. When you click on View All Meetings, you're given a nice, clean calendar view.
Nice.
If you're one of those people who prefer a list view, you can easily see that as well. You can filter down based upon what your interests are or departments. You can see today's, next 7 days. There's a whole lot of filtering that goes on there. When you click into an event, you, of course, get the details of the event, but you also get a nice couple of tools. You get this Add to My Calendar. So if you're one of those people that uses Outlook or Google Calendar or Yahoo Calendar, you can easily click on here, and it'll prompt you through, and it'll get it right added to your calendar. The other thing that's really handy, particularly for some residents who don't know this town very well, is if you don't know where an event is, you simply click on the address, opens it up in Google Maps, click Get Directions, and you're on your way. Also prominent on the home page is a section called Latest News. Again, as we add news stories, these will automatically populate and bubble up to the front. These will scroll through automatically, or if you like, you can go through on your own. When you click onto one of the news stories, you can read all the details, but you also see there's some nice tools. If you're like me, you may be finding it hard to see the text, and you appreciate the ability to make it a little bigger. I know I need my glasses typically. If you find a story particularly of interest, we make it really easy for you to share this with your friends. You just hover over the share, click on hit Twitter or Facebook, and you can easily post these stories and share them with people you know. If you see something that you want to give some feedback to the village about, just click on the feedback button, put in your name, your email address, some comments, you hit send, and that message automatically goes to Gaby or I, and we can respond to the resident. And finally, if you want to print something, which a lot of people still do, the nice thing about this print button is it only prints the story. You don't get stuck printing all this stuff on the side and the navigation, so it makes it really handy. So all of these on here are little things that we think have made the site a little easier to use. One of the big things we were looking at with our site was to simplify navigation. And one of the ways we did this was by using what's called a mega menu. I don't know, on a lot of websites you go to, they have these drop-down menus, but you typically get a single column. And you're also normally limited to seeing just a single level. So for example, if you went to government, you might just see administration, or you might just see building. But using these mega menus, you're actually able to see down into the individual department. So you no longer have to click on the building and hope that that's where your stuff you're interested is looking for. So you can go, oh, residential building permit. That's what I want to see. So you can click directly down into it. You'll also notice that on the left-hand side, we have navigation, but it's limited strictly to the area of interest. So when you click into the building, you're only going to get navigation here that's going to lead you to other building items. Also, the department home pages also feature their own events section and news section. And these stories will automatically be geared towards people who have an interest of this particular information based upon what community development. So if you're visiting community development, you're going to see stories related to the community development. If you visit, say, the police department, you'll see stories related to the police department. Another way we've tried to simplify navigation was by adding a whole new section to our navigation. This one's called How Do I? And what we've tried to do here is anticipate the kind of things that people are particularly looking for when they're visiting the website. You know, how do I apply for a residential building permit? Or how do I report a problem? Or request, speed enforcement? Or pay for a water bill? So we've tried to put all of the really interesting stuff that we think people are going to be looking for right here. We'll, of course, be adding or modifying this list as we find necessary. And the last thing that we tried to do, or one of the other things we've tried to do, and the last one I'm going to talk about, is make it mobile friendly. It's estimated that at least 50% of the browsing that goes on takes place on a mobile browser, on a mobile device, whether that be an iPad or a mobile phone, and everything points to that number only growing. So one of the things we were really concerned about was making our site useful on those devices. Because a lot of times you go to a site on a device and you end up having to zoom in and zoom out and horizontal scroll. Well, what we've done with our site is and I can't show you, of course, a mobile phone or an iPad easily, but what I can show you is how the site dynamically adjusts its layout based upon the size of the screen. So if you're looking at it on a mobile device, you see how that single column or single row turned into multiple columns, and yet it's still all very visible. The meetings still here, easily clickable, and the latest news all still there. You notice there's no need to zoom in or zoom out, no need to do that horrible horizontal scrolling. And it's got a touch-friendly menu, so if you're using, again, your mobile device and touching on it, you can easily navigate into the site. So we think that these changes we've made will really have some positive feedback from our residents and visitors to the website. And that's a demonstration.
Very, very nice.
Let me ask you this.
taken today?
Is it live now, Chris?
I'm sorry?
Is it live now?
Yes, it is.
Will the new website make it easier for residents to contact us? Because I know the old website kind of made it tricky.
Well, we still, right prominently on the homepage, we have contact us.
Yeah, no.
And you can definitely contact us. Again, we try to direct people to this because it creates a request for us. And it has a very good tracking method. So when this comes in, depending on what they've requested, it goes to a particular department. Anything that they do with that request is recorded. So if they respond to the resident, it gets recorded in there. If the resident responds, it gets recorded in there, all automatically. So we really try to gear most of our communication through this form, only because then we have some responsibility or some accountability to it.
It's actually a nice segue into my question. Kudos on the website. It looks very nice. It's obviously easy to use, and I think you're right. I think our residents, or any visitors to the site for that matter, will find it easy to navigate and beneficial. What does it do for staff?
Well, what it does for staff is there's a few things. One, in our previous website, you really need to know some HTML in order to do any updating. So it was kind of limited to Gaby and I really doing most of the updating. This has a back end that is really simple. I mean, we've had some of our normal staff who don't have any web design go through the class.
Do we have abnormal staff?
What were the ages?
They're all my age, which is not quite young. And they were all able to easily go in there. I mean, if you can use a word processor, you could do this. So that'll help us increase the freshness of the content. The other thing it has is it has this emergency banner, which I don't have turned on and didn't want to turn it on to show you. But it allows us to easily, if we have an emergency in town, we can easily create a banner in a matter of seconds that will show up on each and every one of the pages with that information and a link to more information. But they really can't avoid it when they come in. It shows at the top of the screen. They can, mute it after they've read it. But it really helps us, instead of having to worry about going out and adjusting every single page on the site. With a few clicks, we can put that notice out there.
Would that include Amber Alerts in our area?
It's really up to us what we use it for.
And do you get, and I think I'm using the right IT word here, can you draw some analytics out of it?
Oh, sure. They use Google Analytics, which has a very good statistical kind of analysis. So they can tell you, what kind of browser they used, where they used it, what pages they came in on, what pages they went out on.
Are they out of the area? A lot of those types of things.
Exactly. Okay. So we'll be using that to kind of modify the site if we see some pages aren't getting much attention. Maybe it's lacking content, or maybe they're not needed. So
And what's to stop North Korea from?
From hacking us? Nothing. But
of interest?
Yeah, another lack of interest. Chris, I just logged on to vbartlett.org, and it still has the old site. Is that going to be directed pretty soon?
you know what? You're right. Our website is bartlett.il.us, but you're right. vbartlett.org still needs to be redirected.
But the new site looks good on the phone, too. So.
Yeah, it does.
Fantastic. Good. If there's no other questions.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
No, that's really great. It really is nice.
Well done.
Well thought out.
Well done.
Good job, Paula.
Chris and Gaby and our GIS specialist, Christy Stone, spent a lot of time thinking through the system and, you know, what would be friendly technical and what would be friendly to, you know, the average user and the staff as well. So they really did a really good job.
I think it's really nice.
Good job.
That's it for Finance and Golf this evening.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Ranky. I'll see if I can find some other things for you to share this evening. And that being said, we will be moving into we adjourn and then reopen and then adjourn and then reopen. Just move in. Yeah, we'll be adjourning to executive session to discuss personnel pursuant to Section 2C1 of the Open Meetings Act.
And a second.
I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Martin, seconded by Trustee Shipman. And clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Camera,
Yes.
Carbonaro,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Ranky,
Yes.
Shipman.
Yes.
We are adjourned.